So last class, um, okay. So last class we talked about sculpting the anatomy of the skull, the head. This week we're gonna focus on the facial features. All right. So today we're probably gonna just go into the eye and the eye socket kind of area, right? Because I'm trying to tell you guys that our bodies are so complex. Even what I'm gonna go through in this class is gonna be a lot, but it's only gonna be the surface level stuff. So for you guys to really understand this stuff, you guys have to take these practices, these studies that we do, and you got to take them home. You got to do them yourself, practice them yourself. Get a journal, get your sketchbook out, draw them, sculpt them to really let that information sink into it. And what I've learned is I can go over all the broad shapes all I want. You guys aren't going to understand it. So what I've decided this term to do is I'm going to go into specific body parts and then try to solve those for you guys, and then have you guys do it. And hopefully as we put these pieces together, you guys feel more comfortable with the individual pieces, and then you guys can bring those together to make one cohesive kind of sculpt. All right, so let's dive into today's lecture, which is sculpting our facial features. All right. So we're going to do basically an introduction to the facial features. Remember last class we talked about the two main parts of the face, which are the brain case, which is what houses the brain, right? The thinking part houses a lot of the mushy stuff. And then we've got this greenish area, which is the face, the skeletal part of the face, right? Holding the facial features, our eyes, our nose, our teeth, tongue, mouth, and things like that. So that's what we're going to deal with today is the ear, eyes, nose, and mouth. This is what we're going to focus on this week. Today, we're going to focus on just the eyes and the orbital part. And if we get any further, well, kudos to us. But hopefully I can show you guys just this little part, because it's just, even this little part is quite complex. And we're going to talk about a lot of the key landmarks and the proportions, and I will do a live ZBrush demonstration for you guys. All right. So as we talked about last class, we have the parietal bone, the frontal bone, just as a refresher. We have the temporal bone, which is the side of the head, right? Then the zygomatic bone, I just went over that for a lot of your sculpts, right? How you guys need to address the zygomatic bone, and how our jawbone, the mandible, right, the lower jaw, right, connects to the underside of the zygomatic bone, the zygomatic arch, and it goes right under it like that. And I was even doing some draw overs for you guys on how you should address some of these parts. All right. So the temporal bone is back here. This is where our jawbone, the mandible, connects, right? And then the occipital bone is back here, the back of the head, the lower back of the skull, kind of where your spine connects to it. All right. So these are some of the basic features, right? Remember understanding the important landmarks of the skull, right? You want to remember the top of the cranium, right? The widest point of the skull, right? The parietal eminence, right? These 2 points right here. Then we worry about the nasal aperture, the top of the nasal aperture, which also lines up with the eye line, right? Remember this, right? I'm going to try to beat it into your head, because if you remember these features, you remember that these things line up, at least the base of your sculpt will be generally in the right place, right? Then the start of the upper teeth, and then the bottom of the chin. These are the landmarks that you guys should remember. All right. everything is kind of broken up as such. All right. Do not forget these landmarks. They're very, very, very important. They help your sculpts look better. All right. So let's when we talk about the muscle that attaches to your head and skull, we're talking about some pretty large bodies of muscle. A lot of these muscles connect and they help us do things like hinge our jaw, right? This muscle helps us turn, right? Turn our head. And these muscles span different parts of the bone, tucking in and out of these crevices. All right? And depending on the gender, depending on the age, right, you will notice different roundnesses, different stiffnesses, different depths of our skull. So for the male skull, right, you're going to notice it's more squared off, right? And for the female skull, it's more rounded, softer features. All right? And that's for our brow ridge as well, right? You can notice that the male brow ridge is more pronounced. The female brow ridge is a little softer. All right? And this also occurs across different ethnicities as well. So these are some morphographical traits of the skull of major groups around of different regional ancestry. So the European one is more square and straight, and you can see the nasal cavity as well is a little more angular, more triangular. The African one is a little more wide with a rounder, kind of a more, slanted orbital structure. And East Asian is a little rounder, and their the nasal structure, the nasal cavity is a little more diamond shape, and then even the indigenous Australian is a little more squared off, a little more square in shape and not as round. So we all have these different markers, and based on the ethnicities, what part of the world you're from, your sex, what I mean is your gender, right? These things affect how round our mouth is, how far our jaw lines protrude out, how deep some of our eye sockets and our brow line even is. All right. So now let's deal with the eye itself, right? This is why we're here today. All right. So we're going to talk about the different parts of the eye. All right. So the eye, we've got to remember, is not a perfect sphere, right? The eye is not a simple sphere, but can be viewed as the result of fusing two spheres, a small curved with a large, not so strongly curved sphere. The small piece occupying 1/6 of the whole, right? The small piece right here, right? And has a radius of about 8 millimeters, about 0.3 inches. It is transparent and is called the cornea, right? That's this piece right here, the cornea. It's this green piece right here. The large is the scleral segment, which is opaque and has a radius of about 12 millimeters, about 0.5 inches. The ring where the two areas join is called the limbus, right? So what you have to think about is these are like two little spheres, one that are joined together. And right here, this is your pupil. Right? This little center spot right here, that's your pupil. Right? This little spot, that's your pupil. And what we do is when we're drawing it, we make a lot of the times the mistake of just making it a sphere and thinking it like dips in. But what really is happening is you have your cornea on top, which kind of is like a lens. It's almost like a contact lens on top of it that helps us see. Right? It's almost like a cone shape, and that kind of bends the light into your eyes into different spots, and that's what kind of really gives us our vision. All right, so the pupil is the black part of your eye right in the middle, right? This little void right here in the middle. The iris is the colored part of your eye, right? When somebody says they have green eyes, blue eyes, brown eyes, they're talking about the color of their iris. All right? They're talking about the color of their iris. My iris is like brown, dark brownish. We all have different color iris, and depending on the light, the amount of metal, right? Different things affect the color of your iris. Some people say, depending on the shirt they wear, their iris or their eyes change color. When you say my eyes changing color, you're just saying my iris is changing color. All right. So there's the plyssia semoralis, which is the crescent shape fold that is located in the medial corner of the eye, right? So there's this little thing right here. There's this little film right here that's on the corner of your eye. Right here, if you see it, it's right there. It's very, very, it almost looks like the white of the eye, but it's not the white of the eye. All right. Then there's the lacrimal caruncle, which is the small pink globular nodule that sits at the top of the plica semoralis. It is made of skin covering, sebaceous, and sweat glands. So this right here is what we're talking about. This little pink thing right here, you can see it right here. Sometimes you get crusties in there, right? That's where you be getting your crusties. All right? You got to clean that out because it's producing fluid. It houses your sweat glands and things like that, and it's a covering for your eye. All right? So the sclera, right, is this transparent like film that goes over it. But the thing about the sclera, right, is on the eye, it's transparent to a certain degree. It's transparent in some spots, and it's very, very unevenly thick. So some spots it's transparent, and some spots it's opaque. It's a very interesting substance, and that's what makes up the white of the eye, the largest portion of the eye. All right. So when it comes to the eye, we focus on just working on the orbital cavity, the eyelid anatomy, the upper and lower eyelids, the tear ducts surrounding and the surrounding fatty tissue, right? So that's what we're talking about. All right, so here's what I'm talking about when I talk about how there's that little film, right? So this is the iris, right? Light goes into your eye, hits the back of your eyes, and your eyes then, or the back of your eyes, there's something in there that interprets that and then sends the information the information up to your brain and says, hey, this is what color we're seeing. This is the shape, line. It gives it all the information it sees, right, in the form of light beams, right? It goes in and in different shapes. And what we once thought, right, is just like this round thing. No, it's really not. It's got this kind of curve to it, right? So when you start carving out the eye, you want to use a sphere, but you want to kind of give it this shape as well. So when it comes to reflection, so there's the scleral reflection, which is diffuse due to the uneven surface of the sclera, which is what I was talking about earlier, right? The sclera is this white part, right? But what I try to tell you guys is it's uneven. It's not fully transparent. So some parts of it are fully transparent and some parts of it are opaque, which means it's not see-through. So you get kind of this partly reflective surface on some parts of it and partly not reflective surfaces on it. All right. So there's the corneal reflection as well, right? It's a very sharp reflection. The cornea behaves like a convex spherical mirror. And remember, because this part of the eye, remember, it's kind of like a dome, right? It's kind of like a dome. So remember, the reflection that it's going to give you, it's going to be very, very sharp because it's acting almost like a spherical mirror. All right. Then we have the limbal reflection. Remember, right? This sphere right here is sitting on top of this other sphere, the scleral, right? And then where it meets, there's this line right here, and that's the reflection that we always see, right? And it appears on the boundary between the white sclera and the dark iris. The tear fluid reflection, the TFR, a thin strip of tear fluid, right, called the upper and lower tear menisci, and also along the plica slimorilis, right? So what they're talking about is this right here, right? There's always tears, right? If you look right here, no matter what, we always have just a little bit of tears right on that edge. So you're always going to get a tiny little reflection right here. Remember that when you're drawing, when you're sculpting things, right? There's just a little bit of fluid. And that's where you're getting all of these reflections for our eyes. All right. So now let's talk about the thing that is enclosing our eye, which is our eyelids. All right. Everybody has different types of eyelid depending on your ethnicity. I do this all the time. Depending on your ethnicity, depending on your gender, your eyelid, depending on your age, your eyelid is going to form and behave differently. It's going to fold differently as you age, right? The younger you are, the more collagen you have, right? So everything is stiff, it's perked up, and collagen is the thing that, gives us the firmness of our skin. And the older we get, the more collagen we lose, the saggier our skin are, right? So a lot of commercials, a lot of the beauty people or the beauty industry, right? That's what they promote, is these collagen fillers and things like that, because what collagen does is it gives you that firm, and you lose it over time. And what they're trying to do is, they'll try to use fat to replace collagen to kind of, that's where you get all the lipo and stuff like that. But I digress, right? The epicanthic fold, also the monolid eye, right? Which is the eye cover fold extended downward and partially or fully covering the upper lid and the inner corner of the eye. The highest frequency of occurrence of epicanthic folds is found in specific ethnicities: East Asians, South Asians, Central Asians, North Asians. In European population, epicanthic folds occur at a considerably lower frequency. So when we're talking about this fold or the monolid eye, right? That's when you notice of East Asian descent, of Asian descent, things like that. So let's talk about like the general eye kind of diagram. So we've got pretty much 6 major parts of the eye, right? The division is not anatomical, but rather based on form changes. Therefore, it may not entirely be relevant to those in medical and physical anthropology literature. The division is based on second level complex angular blockout. So this isn't based on any kind of like anatomical, like this is how you have, this is how anatomically correct it is. But this is just based on the forms that you're going to notice, the forms that you're going to see when it comes to the eye. So we've got the upper eyelid, right? So the eyeball is this green thing right in the center, right? We've just talked about the eye ad nauseum just 5-10 minutes ago. Now we're going to talk about the things that cover it, right? We've got the upper eyelid, all right? We've got the tear ducts, right, that are right there, the tear ducts. Then we've got the tear bag right here, right under the eye, right? Then we've got the lower eyelid, right? We've got the upper lid, the lower lid, the tear bag, and right here, this giant purple one is the infraorbital and the cheekbone, right? Infraorbital, right here is where your zygomatic bone would be, your zygomatic arch right over here, right? Your orbital bone, right? Your eye socket, essentially. These are the fats. These are the pieces that cover that area, right? And then you've got your brow area, right? You've got your brow area right above the upper lid. You've got your brow. Some people's are thicker, right? Some fighters, they might have it cut, so they might have like a split area right there. If you've busted your eye open, that area can be very, very tender. And then you've got this temporal line, which kind of divides the forehead from the temple. All right. So that's the major parts of the eye that you guys need to focus on. All right. Remember, the eye isn't just a sphere. It's almost kind of like oblong shaped at the top. It's two spheres wrapped together, and you guys can see that with some of these scans that we've done of human. And this is how the eye kind of connects into the skull. So we've got these muscles that kind of hold the eye in place, allowing us, and then we've got these little tendons and things that strap to the top of the eye to help us kind of hinge it open and hinge our eyelid open and our upper eyelid closed, and right here we go. So we've got right here. So we've got hinges that kind of help open up the eyelids, the upper eyelids, and give us that function. All right, and here we've got our orbital fat, right? This is like the fat pad right under the lower eyelid, right? We've got our upper eyelid, right? Lower eyelid. Then we've got this orbital fat right here. These fat pads and the brow pads right there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the eye. And then I've got a few references of some of these: the tear ducts, the eye, the upper lid, the lower lid, right? The orbital fat pads and things like that. So this will be available for you guys as well. And now what I want to do is I want to shift over to ZBrush. I don't have a lot of time left. I want to shift over to ZBrush to show you guys how some of this stuff would work. Whoops, let's not go to the ear. All right. Now let's open up ZBrush. All right. I'm actually going to use this guy. Try this guy. And then for this guy, I'm going to append a sphere. All right. just gonna move this guy in. Oops, like so. Scale this guy a little more. And this is our eye. And place it right there, like so. All right. Grab. Scoop this. All right. So now we've got our eye in place. And remember, let's go here to draw. I'm going to scale this down. And then imagine this is our eye. And then BCB. Kind of something like that. Yeah, something like that. All right, that's kind of what it looks like with that cone. This isn't perfect, but that's fine. And then we can just do we're gonna do a boom, Z plugin, subtool, master, mirror, okay. That's fine. Actually, I'm gonna append another sphere, and this one I'm gonna use to scale it down a little bit, and I just want to use this to kind of sculpt out my my eye stuff. And this is gonna be you guys' classwork as well, so I'm just gonna scale this up a little bit. All right, and you guys should all have this in ZBrush as well. You just need, some sort of base. You can use yours if you want. You can use this one. BMV. I'm gonna start using this to kind of BCB. And I'm really focused on just this side of the eye because this is what really my focus is on right now. So I'm just gonna make that transparent. Okay. thing this is going to help me do is, okay, so this is where the forms are. This is what's going on here. And now I'm going to outline it to, there we go. Shift, smooth. All right. Okay. All right. So now I'm just gonna try to get in those big forms in really quickly. All right. I'm gonna reduce the size of my brush a little bit. All right. Let's get in this big shape right here. All right. All right, so we've got, remember, we got our eye here. We've got our upper lid, lower lid. Then we've got the tear bag or whatever it's like the tear bag, Such a funny weird word to say. All right. Go up one subdivision, divide one time. All right. Shift, smooth. Alright, I do it big and then I'm gonna knock it back a little bit. Alright, tear bag. And then this is the infraorbital right here. Alright, maybe even reduce the size of my brush here. Shift to smooth. Alright, boom, doing big. Like this. So alright. The same thing right here. Boom. Shift. Smooth. And then I'm just gonna carve out more of my eyeball here. Alright. Boom. Bring that down. Boom. Right, we've got the tear ducts over here, and then we've got the brow ridge right over here. Right, brow ridge right over here. Right, and then maybe make the nose a little. Alright, smooth this out a little bit. Alright, BDS, that's my Damien standard. Where I'm just going to use it to kind of mark out some stuff like so. Cut this back a little bit more. That's a lot, that's a lot, that's a lot, that's a lot. Just going to reduce the size of my cut tool again. Cut a little bit like so. Now, I'm going to go BCB again. Get my clay buildup tool out. Right? And what I want to do is now, I want to maybe add a little more to this brow ridge right here. Right, to this brow ridge. Alright. Adding a little more to this brow ridge. Boom, like so. All right. Some of these are the muscles that help you frown and smile and things like that. You smile with your eyes. All right, once again, I'm gonna go back to my ducts over here. I'm just gonna lay it out a little bit more. Laying it out a little bit more at a time. All right. And then for the nose, boom, like so. All right. You guys can see it's starting to come into shape, right? All I'm doing is attacking those shapes that I'm seeing, right? Taking the ridge, right? I'm not going too far with the geometry, very subtle, right? And then, you know, maybe this guy, kind of goes like that. And then, so we've got, and I'm going a little extra, I'm going a little OD, you know, just to show you guys. All right. And I'm just gonna, once again, pull this guy and then shift, smooth it out, shift, smooth it out. Right, and I'm not gonna go any further, right? I'm not gonna go any further until I've gotten to a point in the sculpt where I can't go any further. I'm gonna maybe shift smooth this a little bit. I'm gonna BMV, that's the move tool. All right. I'm just gonna use this to move some of these shapes around for the eye. All right. So now I want to kind of shape how this eyelid is, the lower lid is going to perform. All right. Boom. Kind of want to give it that classic. Pull it down a little bit. Boom, like so. And bring this guy in, and then the top of the lid. All right. You're bringing it in, and then this top kind of fold right here. You can pull that down, pull that down, pull this a little back up. All right. Now I'm just gonna Z-remesh it. Let's get a little better topology. It's gonna go, where's that? Z-remesher. Z-remesh this bad boy. Gross. Actually, let me just divide it one more time. Just so I can, now I'm just gonna smooth this out. BCB. All right. So now I'm gonna kind of, all right, let's do lazy mouse. BDS. Let me increase the strength. All right, so I'm trying to define, right, some of these. So the easiest way for me sometimes is just to go to the Damien standard tool. All right, and then I'm gonna go right here, do the same, but what you're gonna remember is the upper lid folds over, right? The upper lid folds over the lower lid, all right? And then you usually get kind of like a wrinkle or something right in there. And I'm exaggerating it for you guys to see, but you guys get the point, all right? And now I'm going to add, let me add another kind of piece to this. BCB, add another kind of a fold. Oops. And then BDS. And then what I'll do is I'll do the opposite, which will now cut into the mesh. Right? So now it looks like I've got two folds in there. Alright. And with this one, I might want to cut it in this way. Smooth this out. Alright. Go back to BDS. Alright. Cut back into the mesh. Cutting into it. If I hold down Alt, the Alt does the opposite. So Alt pulls the mesh. So it's kind of like, it's almost like you're drawing an outline of the shape you want. And don't just leave it in there. You got to smooth it out, because then it doesn't look right. You got to smooth it out. Like I said, you don't want to beat people over the head with it. You want to kind of, it's supposed to be subtle, So let me cut this up too, like so. All right. Now the same for the lower lid. I'm gonna do some cutting, right? I'm gonna cut this guy right here. Boom, for the lower lid. And this guy should kind of tuck right into there. And then we've got the big tear bag, or tear bag. Right. All right, I'm only doing this to kind of exaggerate a little bit, so you guys can see what all of these forms are, right? As you guys can see, the more you work it, the more you start paying attention to these forms, the better it's gonna look, the better polish you're gonna have. All right, so I'm gonna go BCB again, increase the size. There we go, boom, like that. Soft it out. All right. This is gonna be like super. BCB. Now let's go here. So, and I'm just looking at some reference right now. Like I'm looking at reference, looking back at my model, looking at reference, looking back at my model. All right, that's what you guys should be doing as well. Don't think, oh, I know it. Nah, you don't know it. You think you know it, but you do not. You don't know what you're looking at, so. And especially at this stage, you want to be sure. You want to be sure what you're looking at. You're getting those shapes in, You're at least practicing. You're like, all right, I know where I put this. I know I did this for this reason, BDS. And then boop. So this would be, let me see, this would be like my temporal line. All right. So what that means is things from this side will start to get flatter, right? So this would be like the side of the head almost. All right. BFA. I'm just gonna show you so I'm just gonna flatten this. All right. And just like any model, right? You're just working it, So now let me bring this piece right here. this is the nose. We're not going to worry about the nose today, right? This is just kind of like a gestural nose for today's classes. I might make it look a little, make it look not as horrid. And for the next class, we're gonna focus on other part of it. Oops, sorry. And depending on, if it's a male or female, is how pronounced some of these would be. Obviously, BCB. Does anybody have any questions for me before I dismiss you guys from class?
Is the eye due today?
It's due tomorrow.
All right.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Any other questions? No? Alright, if you guys don't have any other questions for your boy, then you guys are free to go. Alright, remember, practice, practice, practice. Alright.
Hello. When do you want us to turn this? When do you want us to turn this in?
Tomorrow's fine.
Tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Sound good? Any other questions? Other than when it's due? Alright. The older we get, remember, the more wrinkles we'll get and stuff. So more folds. Alright. Alright. You guys are dismissed. Go work on your stuff. If you guys have any questions, do let me know.
How do we set up the screenshots?
How do you set up the screenshots? Okay, so whenever you're gonna take a screen grab of what you're working on, you're gonna look at the camera. You're gonna go into your render settings. Let me go. Where's my toolbar's not up here. Let me show you. Menus. All right, so you're gonna go into render. You're gonna go BPR render pass, and then you're gonna just click this guy right here, and that's gonna do like a basic kind of render for you to start off with. All right, and then you can go back.
I meant like when uploading our screenshots, how is the layout?
Oh, the layout for it.
Yeah.
Just copy the layout that I put on the chat. I can send you the Photoshop file if that makes it work. If that makes it any better for you.
No, it's good. It's just I was wondering how to do we just do one eye and then send a screenshot of that, or do we do like turn around of the eye?
You want to do kind of like screen grab of it, hit OK. Then you'll do one like this or something, kind of take different angles of it,
Okay.
and then take those screen grabs, BMV, take screen grabs of the different angles and stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
And whenever you take your screen grabs, just make sure that you've got like render, you've got your BPR pass on, and then boop, and then it saves it. I'm gonna do one composite underscore 3QI, and then boom, it's gonna save, hit OK, and then I'll composite that inside of Photoshop and then post that. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Does anybody have any other questions for me? Because if you don't, you guys are free to go. All right. Have a good rest of your day. It was nice seeing you. I'll see you in the morning.